In downtown Honolulu, major streets are named after the early missionary families that made their mark in Hawaii. However, there's a hidden history that you can discover by taking a walking tour of the former Redlight District. Leave the kids at home though. This one is for adults only.
My name is Churchfield. I own Honolulu Exposed. It's a little tour company. I've been researching the most scandalous history of Honolulu for the past 3 years. And I've put together this wonderful little walking tour through Chinatown. Now, it's all about Chinatown in World War II, and that is when it was the Redlight District for the U.S. military. Prostitution's always been illegal in Hawaii, but there was a huge prostitution ring run by the police. So my tour goes into the absurd and ridiculous details about how that worked. And I talk about ladies of negotiable affection who worked in the neighborhood, and the madams who were entrepreneurs by coming out here and trying to take advantage of the ridiculous male to female ratio. The worst ratio I've uncovered is 1 single woman for every 300 plus single men. That's pretty bad. Or pretty good, depending on what your profession is. So who are these women working here as ladies of negotiable affection? Were actually Irish, and a lot of them got into the profession for the money. Now, some of them were educated too, but you know, it doesn't matter back then how educated a woman is. There's only so far she can go in this patriarchy, and this particular situation in Honolulu would allow them to make a lot of money. If you were a woman working in a factory job, you could make about $2,000 a year. Prostitutes here in World War II could make upwards of $25,000 a year. And sailors were paid a measly $30 a month. $30 is not very much. Now the madams could make upwards of $150,000 a year. To put that into context, that is more than a tour guide makes today. This is King Street, King and Fort, and you can really see just how sailors have just taken over the neighborhood. And it's sailor, sailor, man, man, sailor, just a couple women running just as fast as they can. This is one of the photographs, many photographs of the men waiting in line. And as if this isn't shocking enough, here's another photograph of the men waiting in line. My goodness. Now you've got the Black Cat behind them. This is the Black Cat Cafe. It doesn't exist today, but you could get a burger and fries for 15 cents. So behind me is Smith's Union Bar. Now, having a bar in Chinatown that catered to the sailors was a great way to make money. They were not picky. They wanted to get drunk as quickly as possible, so they drank 5 Islands gin. Now imagine a long line of sailors outside of each bar, and each ship in the Navy was assigned its own bar. The ship assigned to Smith's Union was the Arizona. So men are going to spend a lot of time waiting in line in this neighborhood. They're waiting in line either for a drink, or a lady, or a tattoo. So there were a lot of other little entrepreneurial businesses selling food to the men as they're waiting in line, and shoe shine boys. They'd come and shine the guys' shoes as they're waiting to visit a lady. Also, hula girl photo booths. For 75 cents, a sailor could get his photograph taken with an authentic Hawaiian hula girl, and she was Chinese. Duke Ellington, Sarah Vaughan, Ella Fitzgerald, and Louis Armstrong all have something in common. They all played at the Swing Club, which is Bar 35 today. Now that reads, taxi, flat rate to base. What do you do with a drunken sailor? You dump him off under the sign and he can get a cab ride back to Schofield or Hickam. One gentleman I spoke to said, I used to date a taxi dancer. And I asked him, sir, what is this taxi dancer? You've got to tell me the story. And he says, oh, well, she and her friends would get somebody who could play music, usually guitar, and then they would go out to the plantations and charge the men their 10 cents a dance. Now, it's like taking on taxi fares, which is why they were called taxi dancers. And over the years, I've had many locals say to me, oh, my auntie was a taxi dancer, or my father played guitar for them. Or there's my personal favorite. Oh, didn't you know Ben Cayetano, former governor of Hawaii, his mother was a taxi dancer. Now this Redlight District brings in a lot of money, but not everybody's happy about it. You see, Hawaii is populated with the descendants of missionaries, and they are very unhappy about this sex out of wedlock. They're very offended by it. In fact, there was a strong movement here. It was an offshoot from the temperance movement, and they called themselves the Social Purity Committee. So you can imagine how they would feel about this fornication. There was even a committee dedicated to trying to shut it down. However, one of the members of the committee, they needed his vote to do something, and he said, well, I don't know, I feel like this whole prostitution thing is something I need to study for at least 3 more years. So they couldn't shut it down because too many people were making money off of it, but there's another element too. Some of them felt that the prostitutes were the front line between the sailors and their daughters. Better natural tendencies be encouraged with willing women than with the virtuous white women of Hawaii. My goodness. So most of the people who come on my World War II Redlight District tour are local women. Women are interested in how other women survived throughout history and what they did. And one of the topics I cover, of course, is sex in this neighborhood. Usually when I get to that part, there's a lot of giggling, but that's fine. It's a very funny topic.